So I'm back on the bench. It's actually a little breezy out here, which is fantastic because it's a bit of a hot day. So having the breeze is certainly helping. So I'm back to talk a little bit about the whole remote work thing again because last week, I think on Thursday, the CEO of Quora announced that they are now a remote first company, which means that I think effective immediately, any of their employees can work from anywhere they choose to in the world, unless they're running kind of physical like infrastructure. So they probably have their own server farms and things like that. So unless they have a job like that, they can work anywhere they want. And they opened a couple of positions. I think I saw a director of UX, remote, 100% remote, live wherever you want. And they create a new position for head of remote, which is a serious commitment. So they are going to have somebody that is fully dedicated to making remote work work. So it's going to be dealing with process and organizational issues, cultural issues. So trying to maintain a good company culture when everyone's remote. The CEO wrote a tremendous blog post. So if you go to Quora and look at the company blog, it was a really long blog post about why they're doing this. And one of the reasons is I think they did a survey with their employees, and 60% said they do not want to return to the office even if the office reopens. 60%. I know everybody's been saying, everybody wants to get back into the office. That's not true. A lot of people are happy never going back into an office. I wrote an article about that. What if we never go back? Well, 60% of those people agree they don't want to go back. And so there's also this whole fear. There's a lot of myths around remote. I'm working on a podcast with a couple of good friends, Trip Odell and Ein Codina. It's about the brave new workforce. So it's about this transition to the future of work, which I believe is remote work, both from an individual perspective, like employees and small business owners, but also come from a corporate perspective, like how can your company transition effectively into a world where everyone's distributed, location independent? And there are a lot of myths. We talked about that, which was we're not going to be as productive. The employees are goofing off at home. They're not as productive. How do I keep them on task? Not true. Quora actually looked at all the data, and it's like they're actually more productive. A lot of the research has shown that employees are more productive. If anything, they're working too much. Because they're working at home, it's too easy to keep working and forget to transition back into your personal life because work is always right there. So it's actually a different problem, which is how can I work remotely and maintain a bit of a work-life balance or a separation between my personal life and work. So productivity, not an issue. So stop saying that that's a problem with remote work. The other thing that came up was the whole concept of culture, a company culture, which I find kind of amusing because I worked in the corporate world in big offices, and acting like we had some kind of beautiful, ideal company culture before all this. Come on, let's not kid ourselves. And especially as companies get bigger, right? You start to create subcultures and have warring cultures within the company, organizations fighting with each other. Culture is determined by how you treat each other. It's determined by the leadership team. Yeah, they say the fish stinks from the head. There's a proverb about that. Culture comes from the top. So if you show respect, trust, if you hire well, you hire for diversity, you hire for inclusion, and you create healthy communication and processes, you'll have a good culture. You can reinforce that. But even the companies that are fully remote and have been remote from their inception, like Buffer, Zapier, Automatic, they do things to bring the teams together. They bring, who else? Balsamiq. So we just talked with somebody who was like employee number 2 at Balsamiq. And once a year or multiple times a year, they get together. I used to do this with my own startup. We would get together every month. We would go to different locations to make it easier on everyone. So we'd go to Seattle and we'd work in Seattle. We had an employee in Seattle, a partner in Seattle. Same with Portland. We had a great guy in Portland. We'd all go to Portland and he would show us around the city while we were working. We'd kind of build that bond. And then they would come to the Bay Area too. So the teams get together and they get together, they do recreational stuff, they collaborate in person, have meals together, and I think it does make a difference. Even when I was working at eBay and Yahoo in a corporate environment, I would try to travel every month to go to one of the offices, whether it was in Barcelona, London, Paris. There was a couple offices in India, office in Shanghai, Taipei. We would get together and we would work together. We'd go out and have dinner together, have lunch together, drinks together, and it builds a bond. There is camaraderie that happens when you share meals with other human beings. So it's a good thing. It's not going to stop. Just because your company's remote first or you prefer remote work, you can still get together once the restrictions are lifted and we can travel and actually get together. To build that bond, to have a strengthened culture. But culture does not come from just sitting in the office together. I've been in plenty of companies where we all sat together right next to each other and the culture was horrific. Sorry, I got angry about that. It's a touchy subject. So anyway, don't use that as an excuse. The tools aren't great yet. I mean, we are trying to use Zoom. All of us are trying to use Zoom, so it's causing issues. Better tools are coming. Better processes are coming. There's a lot of stuff you can do to improve the way that you collaborate, both synchronously, through a video chat, and asynchronously. Part of that is documentation. A lot of companies got lazy by being in the same office and being able to go down the hall and talk to somebody, and they would make decisions without documenting anything. Great. Yeah, you're running fast. You're all collaborating. You're doing the water cooler effect. Somebody quits and now all that information goes out the door. Nothing was documented. And I saw that too. So we would have employees leave, even sometimes if it was a healthy, they're going to a better opportunity. It wasn't always leaving in anger or quitting. But there was no documentation. So new employees would come in and like, so who understands this code? No one. The guy who understood it left. So that laziness that happens because you're all in the same office, maybe you think you're moving fast, but in terms of long-term institutional knowledge, it's terrible for the company. Being able to get a new employee up to speed when there's nothing captured or documented, terrible. Making decisions in meetings and everybody's like, why did we make that decision? Who's responsible? Who's accountable? What was the information? What was the data? Don't know. Wasn't documented. I would say that we've used the office as a crutch, to be able to do things that really should have been done through better processes, better documentation, better communication, better collaboration. Remote is forcing that. And I don't know if it was the Quora CEO or someone else, but they said, even if we're in the office, and they're going to keep some of their offices because some people want to come back and co-work, and that's fine. They're not saying it's 100% one or the other. Even with that, they've said that when they're going to have meetings, everybody's going to sit somewhere with their laptop and they'll do a video conference so that everyone's on a level playing field. That's absolutely important. I remember working in the corporate world and we would have people who dial in from other locations because we have people all over the world. And their ability to contribute to the discussion was challenging because people would forget to ask them. And it was hard for them to interrupt the conversation when there's 30 people in a room and they're all alone somewhere, in a different part of the world. So if you put everyone in the level playing field, everyone has the same opportunity, everyone has the same kind of friction. It makes things more equal. It makes things more fair. So another company, Quora, and it's creating an interesting opportunity for people to participate from anywhere. He also wrote some, great stuff. You really should go read that blog post. It was all about, I think he talked about the Industrial Revolution, which we've talked about, bringing people into the cities. The problem when there's multiple people in the household getting a job, and where do you live? Where do you live? Who gets the easy commute? Where do you move to the city where someone has a better opportunity for a job, but it's terrible for the other person's career, right? You have to make those trade-offs. Not anymore. You know, if we are fully remote and you can work for any company anywhere in the world, living where you want, every person in the household can have the best possible job with the best possible company they can find. They no longer have to say, well, great for your tech career to move to the Bay Area, terrible for my political career. Oh well, you know, so much for that. Don't have to make that choice anymore. Um, so I think it's going to create a whole bunch of opportunity. I think it's going to give everyone a chance to find a job with a great company and be able to take that economic opportunity with them to live wherever they want to live. Um, I guess that's all I wanted to say about that, but I would highly recommend go to the Quora corporate blog, take a look at what the CEO posted on Thursday, I believe. It's a long article, but you know, read through it because I think it makes a lot of sense. A lot of stuff that wasn't working in the previous world, the open office world, and how remote isn't as scary or terrible as so many people are trying to make it out to be, but 60% apparently don't want to give it up. That's it.